What if I told you that in a time when women had no voice, one woman defied all expectations and became the most powerful leader in Israel? Deborah wasn't just a judge. She was a prophetess, a warrior, and a strategist who led an entire nation to victory. But here's the real question. How did she rise to power in a male-dominated world? What made her leadership so extraordinary that even generals sought her guidance? And could her story hold the key to unlocking your own purpose and courage today? In this video, we're uncovering the incredible journey of Deborah, the fearless woman who commanded armies, heard directly from God, and changed the course of Israel's history. You'll discover the battles she fought, the wisdom that made her leadership unstoppable, and the spiritual lessons hidden in her story. But this isn't just ancient history. Deborah's life challenges you to step into boldness, trust in God's calling, and embrace the leadership role He has placed in your hands. Have you ever felt underestimated? Have you ever questioned if you have what it takes to make a difference? What if Deborah's story proves that faith and courage can break any barrier? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear could shift the way you see leadership, faith, and God's power in your life. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Let's share this powerful message with those who need it most. Deborah was an extraordinary figure in Israel's history, known for her unique role as both a prophetess and a judge. As a prophetess, she received messages directly from God, offering divine guidance and direction to the people of Israel. This role was significant because she was one of the few women in the Bible to hold such a position. As a judge, Deborah provided leadership and resolution in legal matters, overseeing disputes and ensuring justice was served. Her dual role allowed her to impact both the spiritual and legal life of the nation, which was crucial during a time of unrest. Deborah's influence in Israel was profound. People came from all over the land to seek her wisdom and advice, showing the respect and trust they had in her judgment. She was a beacon of hope, a guiding light for the people who were in need of direction. Her leadership was not just about giving advice, but also about making tough decisions that shaped the course of Israel's future. The fact that people sought her counsel demonstrates the deep impact she had on the community, especially in a time when leadership was scarce. What made Deborah's position even more remarkable was the fact that she was a female leader in a society that was predominantly patriarchal. In a time when men typically held positions of power, Deborah's role as a judge was groundbreaking. Her leadership broke societal norms and proved that faith and wisdom are not defined by gender. Deborah's story serves as a powerful example that God can use anyone, regardless of societal limitations, to fulfill His purpose. During Deborah's time, Israel faced many challenges, including moral decay and oppression from foreign powers. The people had turned away from God, and their lives were marked by idolatry and injustice. Deborah's leadership came at a crucial moment in Israel's history. She stepped up to bring order and stability to a nation in crisis. By making wise judgments, Deborah restored a sense of justice and righteousness, and her leadership helped guide Israel back to God. Deborah's role as a judge also provided hope to the people of Israel. During times of oppression, where many felt helpless, Deborah brought a sense of direction and purpose. Her leadership not only helped to guide the people spiritually, but also to inspire them to stand up against the foreign oppressors. Her unwavering faith and courage helped remind Israel of God's power and His plan for their deliverance, showing that true leadership is rooted in faith and obedience to God. Deborah's leadership was pivotal during the time of Israel's oppression by the Canaanites. When the Israelites were suffering under King Jabin and his general, Sisera, Deborah summoned Barak, the military commander, to lead the army against them. Deborah's call to action was not just a simple command, but a prophetic directive. She had heard from God and knew that it was time for Israel to rise up. However, Barak hesitated, uncertain about leading the army without Deborah's presence. His hesitation highlighted how much Deborah's leadership and guidance meant to him, and how deeply he trusted her wisdom. Despite his initial reluctance, Deborah encouraged Barak, and together they prepared for battle. Deborah's involvement in the military campaign was significant. As a prophetess and judge, she wasn't just providing spiritual guidance. She was also leading Israel in a practical sense. Her presence was essential to the army's morale, and her faith in God's promise inspired Barak to step forward and lead the troops. Deborah's leadership demonstrated that true leaders can inspire others through faith and action, and that God's calling can empower individuals to overcome their fears and doubts. Following God's direction, Deborah prophesied that Israel would defeat Sisera, but with a twist. She told Barak that while they would win the battle, the glory of the victory would go to a woman. Judges 4 verse 9. This prophecy was both powerful and unexpected. It foretold not only the victory over a powerful enemy but also that the women of Israel would play a crucial role in God's plan for deliverance. This prophecy set the stage for a surprising turn of events, where the victory would be marked by the bravery of a woman. The battle was fierce, but under Deborah's guidance, the Israelites were victorious. As God had promised, the Canaanite army, led by Sisera, was defeated. However, it was Jael, a woman not directly involved in the military campaign, who played the final and crucial role in fulfilling Deborah's prophecy. Jael killed Sisera, the enemy general, while he sought refuge in her tent, thus sealing Israel's victory. This unexpected turn of events emphasized Deborah's prophecy and demonstrated that God's plans often unfold in ways that challenge expectations. After the victory, Deborah composed a victory song, Judges 5, which celebrated God's deliverance and the triumph of his people. This song was not just a celebration of military success, but also a testimony of Deborah's faith, leadership, and the power of God's intervention. It highlighted God's sovereignty in the midst of battle and served as a reminder of the importance of trusting in God's plan. Deborah's song was a legacy of faith and leadership, showcasing how God can use anyone, man or woman, to accomplish his purposes. Deborah's leadership had a profound impact on Israel, particularly in a time of oppression and uncertainty. As both a prophetess and a judge, she led Israel with wisdom, courage, and faith. Her ability to guide the people spiritually while also providing leadership in military matters set a powerful example for future generations. Deborah's leadership demonstrated that wisdom and courage are essential for effective leadership, especially when facing great challenges. Her actions not only brought victory over Israel's enemies but also restored order and hope to the nation. She proved that a leader can be both a spiritual guide and a decisive figure in times of war, and her legacy is a testament to the strength and resilience of Israel. Deborah's story is particularly inspiring for women in leadership today. In her time, society's expectations were clear. Women were not typically seen as leaders, especially in military or political realms. Yet Deborah broke these societal norms and became one of the most respected and influential figures in Israel's history. She showed that leadership is not bound by gender, and anyone, regardless of their background, can rise to a position of influence when called by God. Deborah's courage to step into a role traditionally reserved for men continues to inspire women everywhere to pursue their calling, break barriers, and lead with conviction. Deborah's wisdom was central to her leadership. She didn't rely on her own strength or strategies alone, but sought God's guidance in every decision. Her wisdom was rooted in her deep relationship with God, which allowed her to lead with integrity and faithfulness. She demonstrated that true leadership involves listening to God's voice, seeking His will, and trusting His timing. Deborah's wisdom was not just in her decisions, but also in how she led the people with compassion and fairness, always striving to lead in alignment with God's purposes. Deborah's leadership serves as a timeless model of faithfulness, courage, and wisdom. Her life exemplified what it means to lead with integrity, whether in spiritual matters or in practical, day-to-day decisions. By turning to God for direction and stepping up to lead in a time of crisis, she showed that leadership is rooted in trusting God and being obedient to His calling. Deborah's legacy continues to encourage us to seek God's will in all areas of our lives and to lead with the kind of boldness and integrity she demonstrated. In reflecting on Deborah's legacy, we see that true leadership is not about power or position, but about serving others with humility, wisdom, and trust in God. Her example challenges us to rise to our own leadership roles, whatever they may be, and to do so with faith and integrity. Deborah reminds us that leadership is a responsibility, and those who lead must do so by seeking God's guidance and being faithful to His call, regardless of the obstacles in their way. Deborah's life is a powerful example of faith and obedience. When God called her to lead Israel, she trusted His word and acted boldly, even when the task before her seemed overwhelming. She didn't hesitate to step into a leadership role during a difficult time in Israel's history, showing that true faith involves trusting God even in the face of challenges. Her obedience to God's call, regardless of how daunting it seemed, allowed her to fulfill the role God had chosen for her, and it set a profound example for others to follow. Deborah's story reminds us that faith is not just about believing, but also about taking action in response to God's direction. Deborah's leadership also teaches us about the power of courage. Her courage was not about physical strength, but about standing firm for righteousness and justice, even when it was unpopular or dangerous. She didn't just lead through words, but through decisive action. Her willingness to step forward and lead the Israelites in battle shows that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the determination to act in accordance with God's will despite fear. Both men and women can look to Deborah as an example of how to lead with integrity, courage, and a heart focused on justice. Her story also highlights that leadership and courage are not limited by gender. Deborah broke societal norms by becoming a leader in a time when women were not typically seen as leaders, especially in military or political spheres. She proved that anyone, regardless of their background or gender, can step into a role of leadership if they are willing to trust God's call. Deborah's example challenges us all to rise above societal expectations and to lead boldly in our own lives, whether in our communities, families, or workplaces. God often uses those who are willing and faithful, regardless of societal limitations or expectations. Deborah was chosen by God not because of her position or power, but because she was willing to be obedient to His calling. This shows us that God can use anyone who is open to His direction, no matter their social status or role in society. Deborah's story encourages us to be faithful and willing to serve God in whatever way He calls us, even if it seems impossible or goes against the norms around us. Lastly, Deborah's story teaches us the importance of trusting God's timing and plan. She didn't rush into leadership but waited for God's guidance and timing to be revealed. She was ready and willing when God called her, and that made all the difference. Her life reminds us that God uses those who are obedient, courageous, and willing to step up, and that He has a purpose for each of us. By following Deborah's example, we too can be part of God's plan for justice, leadership, and change in the world. Deborah's journey from a judge and prophetess to a military leader is truly inspiring. She rose to leadership at a time when Israel was in great need of direction, showing unwavering faith and trust in God's guidance. Her courage to step into a role that was unconventional for women in her time, leading both spiritually and militarily, set a powerful example for generations to come. Deborah's story highlights the impact of trusting God and acting with integrity, making her one of the most remarkable leaders in biblical history. Deborah's story invites us to reflect on our own lives and leadership. What lessons can we apply from her example? How can we step up in faith, trusting in God's plan, and lead with courage and wisdom in our own situations? Whether in our families, workplaces, or communities, Deborah's story encourages us to take action, lead with integrity, and trust that God will equip us for whatever He calls us to do. If you were inspired by Deborah's example of faith, leadership, and courage, I encourage you to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this. Each video delves into the lives of transformative figures from the Bible who have shaped the course of history. By learning from their stories, we can grow in our own faith and live out God's purpose in our lives. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're encouraged by Deborah's story and inspired to apply her lessons in your own journey. May her example of boldness and trust in God guide you as you step into your own leadership roles, big or small. Take time to reflect on how you can apply Deborah's courage and faith in your own walk with God. As we close, let's remember that God calls each of us to lead in our own unique way. Just like Deborah, we can trust God's plan and move forward with faith and courage, knowing that He is with us every step of the way. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.